Hello everyone, I want to ask you a simple but powerful question. How many of you catch yourself lost in thought, imagining the life you want, the success you crave, or the version of yourself you dream of becoming? Daydreaming feels good, doesn't it? It's comfortable, it's easy, and it gives us a taste of what could be. But here's the hard truth. Daydreaming can become the silent killer of your discipline. Because every time you get stuck in fantasy, your mind is busy living in a future that doesn't exist, instead of building the actions that create it. And discipline is built only in the present, moment by moment, choice by choice. Today, I want to talk to you about why staying trapped in your head is costing you progress and how shifting from daydreams to disciplined action can transform your life. I want to ask you something honest, something real. How many of you have caught yourself drifting off into a daydream? Maybe it's imagining the version of you that's more confident, more successful, fitter, stronger, richer, happier. Maybe it's you closing your eyes and picturing that future life, the one where you've finally arrived at the place you've been chasing. It feels good, right? Daydreaming gives you a little hit of excitement. It feels like progress because in your mind, you've already seen the result. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Daydreaming doesn't cost you energy, it costs you discipline. And over time, discipline is the very thing that determines whether that version of you stays locked in your imagination or actually becomes your reality. See, daydreaming can be tricky. It feels harmless, even helpful sometimes, because it gives us hope. But the more time you spend in that mental movie, the less urgency you feel to act right now. Why? Because your brain tricks you. The brain doesn't know the difference between vividly imagining success and actually experiencing success. So when you're lost in your daydream, you get the satisfaction of achievement without doing the work of achievement. And if that becomes your habit, you're basically living in a highlight reel that never makes it to the field. You've got the dream, but not the discipline. And let's be honest, dreams without discipline are nothing more than wishes. Discipline is where the transformation happens. It's in the ugly moments, the early mornings when you don't feel like getting up, the late nights when you'd rather scroll or sleep, but instead you choose to keep moving forward. Discipline is boring. It's not glamorous. It doesn't give you that instant rush the way daydreaming does. But discipline is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. And here's what's crazy. Most people know this. You already know discipline is the answer. But knowledge doesn't equal change, because if knowing were enough, we'd all be the best versions of ourselves already. The real challenge is choosing discipline over the dopamine of daydreaming. Think about this for a second. Every time you sit back and imagine how successful you'll be someday, you're actually stealing from your own progress today. That time, that focus, that energy, it could have gone into one small action that moves the needle forward. And that's the difference between people who achieve their goals and people who don't. It's not intelligence. It's not talent. It's not luck. It's discipline. Applied daily, no matter how small. The successful ones aren't necessarily the ones who dream the biggest. They're the ones who turn their dreams into daily habits. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine two people. Both have the same dream. Let's say it's getting in shape. One of them spends hours scrolling through fitness accounts, picturing themselves with six-pack abs, daydreaming about the compliments they'll get, the confidence they'll feel. They even talk about it a lot. Next year, I'm going to be shredded. Just watch. The other person, they don't talk about it much. They're not busy daydreaming. They're busy doing. They show up to the gym when it's inconvenient. They eat the boring meals. They stay consistent when no one's watching. Fast forward 6 months. Who do you think is living the dream and who is still dreaming? That's the trap. Daydreaming makes you feel like you're on the path when in reality, you're just standing still. Discipline is the only path forward. And I get it. Discipline isn't easy. If it were, everybody would have it. That's why so few people break out of average. Because discipline is choosing what you want most over what you want right now. Daydreaming feeds what you want right now, comfort, hope, a rush of feeling. Discipline feeds what you want most, real results, growth, transformation. The hardest part is that no one can give you discipline. No motivational video, no speech, not even me standing here can hand it to you. Discipline is something you have to choose in silence, when no one's clapping, when no one's watching, when it's just you versus the voice in your head that says, I'll just do it tomorrow. Let me tell you something. Tomorrow is where dreams go to die. Every day you put off the work, the gap between who you are and who you want to be gets wider. But the good news, discipline works in the opposite direction too. Every single time you choose discipline, the gap gets smaller. You stack one win on top of another. And eventually, the version of yourself you once only daydreamed about starts showing up in the mirror. That's the power of discipline. It turns imagination into evidence. So here's the question I want you to wrestle with today. Are you more committed to your daydreams or your discipline? Because you can't have both. Daydreams without discipline fade. Discipline without daydreams still wins because results beat imagination every time. I want you to understand something deeply. You are capable of building the life you dream about, but you cannot fantasize your way there. You can only discipline your way there. And don't get me wrong, dreaming has its place. Dreaming is where you find your vision, where you clarify what you're chasing. But once you have the vision, the dream's job is done. After that, it's time to wake up and build it brick by brick. Too many people stay asleep inside their own minds, replaying the dream instead of constructing it. That's why they feel stuck. That's why year after year looks the same, because the dream has become a drug, not a direction. So if you're listening to me right now, here's my challenge. Stop letting your imagination rob you of your execution. Start small. Replace 1 hour of daydreaming with 1 hour of disciplined action. Instead of imagining what it would feel like to write that book, sit down and write 1 page. Instead of picturing yourself with the business you want, make 1 phone call, send 1 email, take 1 step that moves you closer. Because momentum is built in motion, not imagination. One day you'll look back and you won't be proud of the dreams you had. You'll be proud of the discipline you built. The dream is the spark, but discipline is the fire. And if you want your life to burn brighter, stronger, more powerful, you've got to stop escaping into fantasy and start investing in discipline. Because the truth is simple. Daydreaming might inspire you, but discipline will define you. I want to start with a bold question. How many times have you told yourself, one day I'll get there? One day I'll be disciplined. One day I'll get in shape. One day I'll build that business. One day I'll finally become the version of myself I keep seeing in my head. And yet, for so many of us, one day never shows up, not because we aren't capable, not because we aren't smart, but because we've been tricked by our own imagination. We've been living in daydreams instead of building in discipline. And let me tell you something. The cost of that is bigger than you think. Daydreaming might feel harmless, even motivational at times, but unchecked, it becomes a slow poison that kills discipline, drains urgency, and leaves you stuck living in a future that never arrives. The problem isn't that we dream. The problem is that we stay there. Dreaming has its place. It's the seed. It gives you a glimpse of what's possible, but if all you ever do is water your dream in your imagination without planting it in reality, you'll spend your life harvesting nothing. You'll keep picturing the life you want, but never tasting it. And the reason discipline matters is because it's the only tool that takes that dream out of your head and puts it into your hands. Think about this. Every single person you admire, every champion, every success story, every hero, they didn't get there because they were better dreamers. They got there because they were better doers. They understood that vision without discipline is hallucination. You can hallucinate about success for years. You can get high off the idea of who you could become. But if you don't ground it in consistent action, it's all smoke. And too many of us get stuck in that smoke, walking in circles, convincing ourselves that we're moving forward when really we're just playing movies in our head. Why does daydreaming kill discipline? Because it gives you the feeling of progress without the price of progress. Your brain loves shortcuts. When you imagine yourself crossing that finish line, hearing the applause, holding the trophy, your mind releases the same chemicals it would if you actually did it. And so you trick yourself into believing you're closer than you really are. That little dopamine hit keeps you comfortable enough to postpone the hard work. And that's the trap. Daydreaming becomes procrastination in disguise. It becomes comfort food for your mind. It tastes good in the moment, but over time, it starves your future. Let me make it personal. Maybe you've had this happen. You picture yourself waking up early, going for that run, crushing your workout, and it feels so real that when your alarm goes off the next morning, you tell yourself, I'll just start tomorrow. Why? Because in your head, you already lived it. You got the satisfaction without the sacrifice. But satisfaction without sacrifice is fake. It leaves you empty. And here's the thing, emptiness compounds. Every time you choose the dream over the discipline, the gap between who you are and who you want to be gets wider, until eventually the dream doesn't inspire you anymore. It haunts you. Some of you right now are haunted by the book you never wrote, the weight you never lost, the courage you never built, the business you never started. And it's not because you weren't capable. It's because you kept living in someday. You kept watching the highlight reel in your head instead of building the practice tape in your life. And I don't say this to shame you. I say this to wake you up. Because as long as you're alive, you still have time. But that time is not infinite. Discipline says, if not now, when? And if you can't answer that question, you'll stay stuck in tomorrow forever. Here's the truth. Nobody likes to hear success isn't about intensity. It's about consistency. Daydreaming is intense. It's loud. It's colorful. It's dramatic. But discipline is quiet. Discipline is boring. Discipline is waking up when the bed is warm, saying no when the craving is strong, showing up when no one's cheering. And because it's boring, it doesn't feel rewarding in the moment. But boring done consistently becomes extraordinary. Discipline compounds the way money compounds. One deposit today might not look like much, but over years, it builds a fortune. And one act of discipline today might not change your life overnight, but repeated daily, it will transform who you are. Let's break it down. Daydreaming says, imagine the body you want. Discipline says, pick up the weight. Daydreaming says, picture your dream job. Discipline says, send the application. Learn the skill. Do the work. Daydreaming says, visualize yourself confident. Discipline says, get uncomfortable. Speak up. Take the risk. See the difference. One lives in your head. The other lives in your habits. One makes you feel good now. The other makes you become good later. One is cheap. The other is costly. But only one pays you back with results. And maybe you're thinking, but I need my dreams. They motivate me. And you're right. Dreams have their place. Dreams are the map, but discipline is the vehicle. And if all you ever do is stare at the map, you'll never reach the destination. A dream without discipline is like staring at a recipe without cooking. You'll stay hungry while convincing yourself you've already tasted it. And hunger is painful. That's why so many people give up. Not because they lacked the dream, but because they lacked the discipline to turn hunger into fuel. The question is, how do you stop letting daydreams kill your discipline? You do it by creating urgency. Stop saying, someday. Stop waiting for motivation. Motivation is fickle. It shows up when it wants. Discipline is faithful. It shows up when you call it. That means you don't wait to feel like it. You act because you said you would. You honor your word to yourself the way you would honor it to someone you love. Because at the end of the day, discipline is self-respect in action. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you're building trust with yourself. And that trust is what creates confidence. So here's the challenge I want to leave with you. For the next 30 days, I want you to swap just one daydream for one disciplined action. Instead of imagining how it'll feel to run that marathon, run 1 mile. Instead of fantasizing about your business empire, make one sales call. Instead of dreaming about confidence, take one small risk today. 30 days from now, you won't just have dreams, you'll have evidence. And evidence is powerful. Evidence tells your brain, I can do this. Evidence kills the excuses that daydreaming creates. Look, the truth is simple. Your dream doesn't need more details. It needs more discipline. You don't need to imagine more. You need to execute more. And when you choose discipline consistently, something amazing happens. You stop daydreaming about the future because you're too busy living it. The version of yourself you once only pictured becomes the version of yourself you see in the mirror. And that's when you realize the dream was never the goal. The dream was just the spark. Discipline was the fire. So don't let your dreams die in your imagination. Don't waste your life watching movies in your head. Build the habits, make the choices, pay the price. Because one day, when people look at you and ask, how did you do it? You'll be able to say, I stopped daydreaming about the person I wanted to become, and I disciplined myself into becoming them. That's the power you have right now. Not someday, not tomorrow, not one day, right now.